diet, exercise, lifestyle changes as we move into the new year. It's always an important concept for people to feel like they're moving in the right direction. You know, a lot of New Year's resolutions get made and a lot of them don't get kept. And so we want to try to help people make a way to keep some of those New Year's resolutions. Maybe give them some ammunition to work on and work from. And for all those who are joining us live on the YouTube at AskDrFerguson.com, you click on the live radio, and then at the little house when you get to YouTube, top left-hand corner, you click on that and then click on feed, and you'll be able to catch the program live, just as those are catching it on the radio. You'll be able to catch it live. And so we do welcome our listening audience, both far and near, because we have developed quite a listening audience from around the world. Actually, I've gotten some messages from Australia. I've gotten some messages from England. A couple other countries I've gotten messages from that they're enjoying our program too. So it's no longer just a local program, but those of you who are local, you can tune in on, you can go to YouTube. Actually, it's probably easy to go by my website. Go to AskDrFerguson.com. Click in the middle of the page, you'll see live radio. Click on that. And then from there, you'll see a little house in the top left-hand corner. Click on the little house and then click on live feed. And that's probably the easiest way to get to it, those who want to catch us live. And for those of you who are local and you want some of your other family members to partake in our program, you can tell them that as well. That's something they can do from anywhere throughout the world, because it's on the World Wide Web, so they can catch the program from anywhere. And you can let them know that the programs previously, a lot of them have been pre-recorded and they're actually on the website. So if you go to my YouTube site, which is youtube.com/user, /Ask Dr Ferguson, AskDrFerguson, then you'll be able to catch, I think there's probably about 30 of the old programs that are up there online that are pre-recorded. So it's a place for some good information to share with yourselves as well as with your loved ones. So on that note, Bishop, I hope you've brought the new year in good without any difficulties.
Yes, everything went smoothly well.
Well, that's good. Did you have a New Year's Eve service?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yes, we did. We started, we started with a business meeting at 9 o'clock, and then New Year's at 10:30 went into the service.
Okay. Well, it's always good to start the new year off praising the Lord.
Amen, at all times.
That's a good thing to do. And, you know, as we move into this new year, you hear lots and lots of things about weight loss, weight management. And the biggest issue, I think, for people to come to grips with is make a decision that you're going to keep. And don't set goals so far out that you're not going to be able to do them.
Exactly.
So as you sit down and make some goals for the coming year, make realistic goals, write them down. Don't try to keep them in your head. Write them down. You have to write them down. Even the brightest of folks can only keep up with about 5 things in their head, and then things start to get lost in the cracks.
So that's what happens to all the information.
So make sure you write down those goals, those New Year's resolutions, if that's what you're going to do. But you write them down, and then as you conquer them, check them off and add some new ones. So don't just write them and forget about them, but write them and maybe check them once a day if you want, once a week, once a month. Put them somewhere you're going to see them, your car, your refrigerator, your mirror in your bathroom, and so that you can continue to reevaluate and say, am I doing what I said I was going to do? And if you're not, step back, reassess, and say, did I set the goals too high? Should I maybe change them a little bit? Or am I just not doing what I need to do? And that's where you need to look in the mirror, be honest with yourself, and then do what you need to do. So often the answer is not so complicated. It's just us doing what we need to do. Mm-hmm. And I think all of us are guilty of sometimes just not doing the things we know we need to do because those are things we don't like to do.
Yes.
And if you're going to have a good exercise regimen and a good healthy diet that you haven't had previously, that's going to take some work. It's not going to just be easy just to jump right into and just to start doing it, but you're going to have to put some time, energy, effort into making those changes in your life, because these aren't easy changes. If they were so easy, you would have already done it. But the key is making a decision that this is what you're going to do. And, in my substance abuse clinic, I often use the terminology, draw a line in the sand and make a decision not to cross it, or draw a line in the sand and make a decision to stay across it. Whichever way you want to look at that line. But that line is kind of the deciding factor. That line is the thing that's there to help you know that you don't want to be there. You don't want to be on this side of the line. You don't want to be on that side of the line. And that line could represent anything. It could represent you're going to do better with your exercise. You're going to do better with your eating. You're going to do better with your stress management. You're going to do better with your sleeping, the amount of water you're drinking. So that line could represent so many different things. But the key is the line is saying, okay, I'm drawing a line in the sand and I'm going to move forward on a positive road from here. And that's the key we're making. That's the mindset that we're trying to get people to have is once you draw that line in the sand, now your goal is to move forward in a positive fashion and not allow the negatives to keep you moving in the wrong direction. Because understand, your body produces different sets of chemicals, and it can produce positive chemicals and it can produce negative chemicals. And, you know, the happy chemicals we talk about as endorphins, and those will help you feel better. Those will help you, and you create more of those probably when you're exercising probably than any other time or place. So exercise is very important when it comes to the endorphins. But your body creates those chemicals. You don't see them, you don't smell them, you don't taste them, but they're there. And those chemicals are coming up, and they're gonna produce when you if you're depressed and sad and down, you're going to produce one set of chemicals. If you're upbeat and on the go, you'll produce another set of chemicals. So your body does do that regardless of whether you know it, regardless of whether you sense it, regardless of whether you feel it or not. So that's very important to know that you can't fool your body on how you're feeling, how you're thinking, but you can push forward and do the things you know you need to do, even though you may not feel like it. So one of the sayings I frequently say to people is you got to do what you said you're going to do long after the good feeling you had when you said it is gone. And that's an important concept. So start the new year off. We're going to write down goals of things you want to get accomplished. It could be anything, but you got to check back on your goals. The key is a lot of people write down goals and they never check them again. And I'm sure we've all been guilty of such things. Write down goals and never check them again. I know I have. Bishop, what about you?
I think we all have. I was about to ask you, sometimes people may write down goals and then they forget where they put them.
Well, then that's a problem too. Maybe they need to be checked out for Alzheimer's disease. But, but see, that only means those goals weren't important enough to you.
Right.
If you lost them, that means they weren't important enough to you, and you need to either sit down and redo them and this time make them more important. See, things that are important to us, we usually don't forget. We usually don't misplace. We usually know where it's at. You know, I ask people all the time, they say, well, I don't know how to keep up with that. I say, well, is it important to you? They say, yeah, it's important. I said, well, when was the last time you did it? Well, I don't know. Well, and then I say, when's your birthday? When they tell me the birthday, I say, why do you know that date? Well, because it's important. Okay, well, you need to make these other things important. You need to make the exercise important, the weight loss important, the management of the drugs important, the management of the alcohol important. The building the relationships with your spouse or your children or your loved ones or your work or co-workers. Those have to be important if you're going to have success at them. Anything that's not important to you, you're probably not going to have success. Mm-hmm. And this is where, your why, another concept I frequently use in my substance abuse clinic is I talk about the why. The why has to be big enough to get you to do what you said you were going to do. We do things in life because of a why, either a positive why or a negative why. And why don't you go speeding through town as fast as you want? Well, you might get a ticket and go to jail, so you don't do it. Why don't you go on Walmart and take everything you want to take? Well, again, you may go to jail. So that's a negative why. Why do you have that bowl of ice cream you like? Why do you have that big piece of cake you like? Well, for initially, that's a positive why, because your taste buds like the way it tastes, and you like to have that particular dessert or that particular food. So that's a positive why. We do things in life because of a why.
And not to make the positive into a negative, like overeating.
Exactly. So it can definitely flip. But, we don't eat something we don't like, right?
Right. We
eat something we do like. And why is that? Because we like it.
The good thing is kids are in school, they say, I don't like asparagus. My mommy makes me eat it.
Well, and when you talk about children and what they eat, it's almost totally, not totally, but a very, very large percentage of that is based on what you bring them up eating.
Exactly.
And what you bring them up doing.
Exactly.
If you bring them up not eating sweets, not having junk food, then they're not going to want sweets and junk food. You bring them up on cakes, candies, or reward them with, candy when they do something, and you're eating a piece of cake and ice cream, so you feel like the kid should have that too, well, then that's the kind of things they're going to want. I mean, a kid shouldn't even know what a soda tastes like. And I can't tell you the number of little kids I see with soda. Sometimes you see sodas in the baby bottles.
Oh, my.
I'm saying, come on, this is ridiculous.
Jeez.
But, you know, it comes down to how we're brought up and what kind of things we expose the kids to as we bring them up. It's kind of funny. I went to my grandkids' first and second birthday to celebrate them together because they're very close together in age. And they had these cakes, you know, like the funny pictures with the kids. They just grab a handful and smash it, eat the whole handful, 2 handfuls. Well, they kept trying to get both of my grandkids to do that. Neither one of them liked the cake. So they really didn't get any good cake pictures because neither one of them have really been exposed to sweets thus far. And when they tried to give them the cake, they didn't want the cake. So I thought that was kind of cute.
Yeah, you're mentioning that, and I think for today, parents are more, the ones who do the shopping, more smarter than we were back then because we didn't understand about nutrition as we do now and about fiber as we do now and things of that sort. I
think we're smarter, but don't often utilize the information. You know, information we know today, obviously a lot of times our parents didn't know growing up. I mean, I know every Thursday or Friday we'd have pork and beans, and one day a week we might have liver with bacon, and those types of things. So knowing about some nutrition is not something our parents may not have known a lot about.
Right.
And now that we know more, I don't know that we're doing any better. I think a lot of times we're doing worse. You know, obesity is 68% of the United States now. Diabetes is almost an epidemic. Almost, I think, up to 15% of children before the age of 15 are coming down with diabetes. I think that's the number. That may be a little off, but it's a huge number, a huge percentage change of children that are coming up with diabetes.
Yeah.
And why is that? Because we're smarter? Well, we may be smarter, but we're not following the rules. Kids are coming up with diabetes largely because so much of our society is supersized.
Mm-hmm.
Supersized Coke, supersized this, supersized that. And so, you know, I'm paid $2 for this and I can pay $2.50 and I can supersize. So we're a supersized society. And because of that, I think things like diabetes, hypertension, strokes are much higher now than when our parents were our age. And I don't know that it's because we're diagnosing it better or treating it better. I think it's probably because it's more prevalent. And that means that just because we have more knowledge, it doesn't look like many times we're utilizing it the way we should. And that's important. And that's what leads us back to this program. And the goal behind this program is to provide information that you can use immediately in helping to live healthier and live a preventive healthcare life. It's much better to live a preventive healthcare life than to wait to get sick and then decide to do something about it. So
it's like driving an automobile. You're driving, and your light keeps telling you need some gasoline.
Mm-hmm.
You never get the gasoline. Then you quit. That's about along those same lines.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, our bodies are wonderfully made, and if we treat them right, they'll work a long time. And you know, the Bible suggests we should live 120 years, and it doesn't say anything about that should be with sickness and disease.
Exactly.
So we must take good care of ourselves. I saw some data several years ago, and I don't know how accurate it is, but I saw the data probably about 2010. And then it predicted that by 2016, there will be 1 million people in the United States that are 100 years old.
Whoa.
So I don't know how accurate that is or how well we're doing on that curve, but I can tell you that older and older people are becoming more and more common. And older people that are still functioning well and taking care of their own activities of daily living, still driving, taking care of their own house and paying their bills is a very, very common scenario. And my grandmother was still managing all her own affairs, so she was 98, and she wouldn't have stopped in had she not had a stroke.
Mm-hmm.
I have an aunt who managed all of her own affairs till she was 99, still driving her car up and down 3 flights of steps every day, paying all their own bills. So people are living longer and more functionable. And living more independently. So I think from that point of view, there are some that are getting it. and getting this new information about health and about exercise and about proper sleeping and identifying your stress. But I think we have a whole large subset of the population that's not getting it.
That's right.
Because diabetes, hypertension, strokes, high cholesterol, obesity, those things aren't going down. Those things are actually going up. And are they going up because we're diagnosing it better, or are they going up because more people are getting those things? And that's the $1 million question that we don't clearly have the answer to. Is it because of more people are actually getting these disease processes, or because we're diagnosing it better? But what we do know is that there's tons of information out there, and the word says my people perish because of lack of knowledge. And I think there's a lot of knowledge that's available that's not being utilized.
Exactly right.
You know, I talk to people all the time that come into my office, been seeing me for years, and I ask them, well, how do you enjoy my radio program? And sometimes they say, well, I've never listened to it. Well, how could I be given all this great information? You know it exists, and you never listen to it. And so people perish because of lack of knowledge. And then they come to the office, complain about their diabetes, their hypertension, their being overweight. And I say, well, you know, I talked about that 2 weeks ago on my program. Well, I didn't listen to it. Well, it's free information. It's easy to obtain. Just turn on your radio or turn on your computer to those sites. You know, those of you who are just joining us, you know, this is Ask Dr. Ferguson. We do a weekly preventive healthcare program. You can catch us on YouTube at youtube.com/user/AskDrFerguson. If you go to that site, you'll find, excuse me. If you go to that site, you'll find a lot of the pre-recorded YouTubes. You'll find YouTubes on Suboxone use, detox, Alzheimer's disease, and lots of other topics. You can also go by my website, which is askdrferguson.com. Lots of preventive healthcare tools and things there that you can partake of. You can call the office at 252-332-6484. Always happy to see new patients and start you on your preventive healthcare track, because it's going to be a little different for each individual. But those are just some of the ways that you can reach me, get in contact with me. If you have questions, you have a topic you want me to talk about, then by all means, get in contact with me one of those ways, and we'll be happy to try to address it. So, talking preventive health, as we start this new year, I always think it's important that we get a fund of knowledge, a basis from which to start. You can go to the website, AskDrFerguson.com, click on Frequently Asked Questions, and you'll find an outline of the Mediterranean diet. Now, what is the Mediterranean diet? The Mediterranean diet is just a healthy way of eating. There's lots of other healthy ways of eating. There's lots of other good foods in the world, but it's a diet that's made up of a lot of antioxidants, which help fight off cancer, help fight off infection. It's a diet that's made up of lots of fruits and vegetables, a diet that's high in fruits and vegetables and low in fat and low in carbohydrates for the most part, but it's balanced. And because it's a balanced, well-nutritious diet, what you'll find is even if you're overweight and you begin eating that way, you'll probably lose weight. If you're already at your ideal body weight, you'll probably maintain. If you add exercise to it, it'll help, and you'll have the building blocks there to begin to build new muscles or to strengthen or to refine muscles that already exist. So it's a good starting point place. And I talked about the Mediterranean diet a lot, but I thought beginning of the year would be good just to highlight it. So when you think about the Mediterranean diet, think about a pyramid. So, you know, the triangle comes the peak at the top and comes down to a flat base. At the top of that pyramid is red meat and sweets. And in the Mediterranean diet, they eat that maybe 2 or 3 times a month. Now, I said red meat and sweets. Now, in the Eastern North Carolina society, meat is probably eaten 2 or 3 times a day. And lots of red meat to include it. When I say red meat, I'm saying anything other than chicken, fish, and turkey. If it's not chicken, fish, or turkey, then I put it in a category of red meat. So they eat it about 2 to 3 times per month. Next on the pyramid would be poultry and eggs. And contrary to what people say, don't eat the eggs because it's high cholesterol. The Mediterranean diet maybe eat eggs 3 or 4 times a week. And so eggs and poultry are obviously not bad for you. But you do have to have a balance with everything you take in. You don't want to take in an abundance of anything, because then you'll be out of balance. You know, 1 orange is good, but 10 oranges might not be so good for you. You know, 1 banana, 2 bananas might be good for you. Maybe 8 might not be good for you. So everything has to be in balance, whether it's a good food or not a good food. It has to be in balance. So at the top of the pyramid, the next line, so we've got the red meat and sweets. And then the next group on the pyramid, you have the poultry. And then next on the pyramid, you're going to have fish, and fish will be 5 to 7 times a week. Cod, mackerel, salmon, fish that are the herring's actually a good fish, but not salted, but just a regular fresh herring. It's always best when you're preparing your meals that baked broil is going to be best, fried is going to be worse. When you talk about the different types of meats, you want to try to see, is it farm grown or is it ocean produced? If it's farm grown, that means they've treated it with antibiotics. That means they've given it maybe some steroids to help it grow faster, grow stronger. So all kinds of abnormalities might be present when it's farm grown. If it's farm grown, then the next question will be, is it organic or non-organic? Organic, meaning chemicals they use would be living type chemicals, and non-organic or the regular traditional would be more chemicals that are not so friendly for our bodies. And so organic is often going to cost more, but often it may taste better. And then it comes down to, if you're going to try getting organic versus the regular, what's the regulation on the organic? Did they have to grow it properly? Do they have data to show that they did this the way they should? Or did they just slap the title organic on there? So a lot of times you got to keep your guards up when you're talking about food and nutrition, because a lot of times things can maybe be a little misleading. I think I'll put it that way. So now we're to the middle of the pyramid. In the middle of the pyramid, you have olive oil. Olive oil they use in everything. Olive oil they use in cooking. They use as salad dressing. They use to grease the pan with. They use to dip the bread in. So olive oil is used in many different ways. And extra virgin olive oil would be the one that would be suggested. And now next on the pyramid, now we're making it towards the bottom of the pyramid. Next would be the fruits and the vegetables. Several servings of fruits and vegetables a day is going to be recommended. When you're talking about green leafy vegetables, the romaine lettuce, the lettuce, but not the iceberg lettuce. The iceberg lettuce is going to be the worst one out there, and it's usually the least expensive. You want to have some color to the leaves. Color to the fruit. The colored fruit is usually going to be better for you, though cauliflower might be the exception. It's it's white, but still very good for you. But the more colorful the fruit, often the better. It's not a 100% rule, but it's a good baseline rule to work from. The more colorful, the better. And so fruits and vegetables is at this category. And then the bottom of the pyramid is going to be grains and nuts and things like that, such as your bread. You want a crusty, nutty, grainy bread. You want to pick up your bread packages. And you want it to have at least 3 grams of fiber. That's real important. If it has at least 3 grams of fiber, that suggests that that's a more decent bread than maybe some of the others. So begin to read your labels. Whatever's first is what's most, and then what's second, what's third, and on so forth down the list. So when you pick up a particular item at the store, and the first item is sugar, well, obviously you want to put that item back on the shelf. You pick up something off the shelf, and the first item is wheat flour, and then maybe vegetable oil or canola oil or sapphire oil. Palm oil you want to be a little cautious with, because that's more of a saturated type of fat. It's not one of your better ones. It's good for the taste bud, and so that's why it's in a lot of your sweets, is the palm oil. So you want to look at the ingredients. You want to see that the ingredients are healthy ingredients, particularly the first 3 or 4 ingredients, and then after that it may go downhill some. But oftentimes when you're looking at labels, whatever's first, when you look at a label, whatever's first is what's most, and so forth down the line. And so as you begin to educate yourself on what some of the good things are, what some of the bad things are. So when you look at the next label, you can identify that there was something on that previous label that I identified as not good, and that same thing is on this label. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Am I going too fast?
Yes, it does, because I think on earlier shows I mentioned that what I do now, I do look at what the ingredients are and how much of there is sodium or salt or carbohydrate.
Okay, and all of these things are good as you yourself and our listening audience continue to educate ourselves on good eating, stress management, exercise, things like that. It's always important that we build upon the foundation that we've established. And that's where this program comes in. As we give information, don't just take for granted what I've said, but look it up and build upon that information. You know, there's probably not a whole lot I say in the nutritional realm that's going to be controversial, but there's going to be some disagreements, I'm sure, on some of the things I've said as compared to maybe another expert in the field. And so in those cases, I encourage you to look it up and do some digging in and find out for yourself what you're thinking and what you're believing. Don't just believe it because I've said it, but look it up and begin to utilize the information.
Amen.
That's very, very important. So as we get ready to move into this new year, we talked about that food pyramid just a little bit. We've talked about setting goals. Another very, very important component of any diet is going to be water. You've heard me talk about water so many times, but it's the staple of the main focus of our nutrition is water. Men 65% water, women 55% water. So if you're not drinking enough water, you're out of bounds. Having problems with your complexion, having problems with headaches, having problems with constipation, having problems with swelling in your legs. All of those could be related to not enough water. Having a problem with weight gain. That could be not enough water as well. People often talk about the first weight they lose when they start on a weight loss program is water weight. That may be true, but also when your kidneys are functioning fine and you're not drinking enough water, that may be a reason why you gain weight as opposed to lose weight. So sometimes the opposite is taking place of what you think should be taking place. But that's when you, again, dig in, get some more data, get some more understanding of what actually is happening so that you can address it and go about it in a different way. In all that getting, we have to get an understanding. And again, those of you who want to try to reach me, you can always call the office, 252-332-6484. You can go by the website, askdrferguson.com. You can go by the YouTube site, which will be askdrferguson.com/user/askdrferguson. I said that wrong. The YouTube site will be youtube.com/user/Ask Dr. Ferguson. And a lot of my pre-recorded programming is up there. You can go there. You can see some of the pre-recording program and ask questions there. Ask questions at the office, 252-332-6484. Always happy to see new patients. And again, the goal behind this program is to utilize this information immediately. So those of you who are listening local, or those of you who are listening across the world, share the information with your friends. Tell them to go by the website. They can catch some of the old programs. Maybe you like this program. Send them to the website and they'll be able to catch this program. It'll be by date, Ask Dr. Ferguson Live Radio, and then put today's date in. And
if one has questions, they can call your office. They can call here, speak with me.
Absolutely. And, rarely do we get questions while we're on the air, but we are open to them. But many times people ask them, why don't they call and ask questions? They say, well, if I called and asked a question, I wouldn't have heard what you're saying. And I can relate to that. So ask them when you see us in the street, ask them on the radio station, call by the office. And I think we're right near close to the end of our time. So on that note, I'm going to say have a wonderful year to all of our listening audience. And don't forget to catch Patricia at Talk Back Now live on Mondays, 11 to 12, Wednesdays, 11 to 12, and Fridays, 10 to 11. That's my wife, and every time I talk to people these days, Bishop, they say they talk about my wife's program. They don't say nothing about mine. I'm like disappointed.
Well, that's because she's on 3 times a week.
I say, well, what do you think of my wife's program? Oh, it's great. Oh, how you like my program? Oh, it's okay. All right. So on that note, be blessed and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Dr. Ferguson.
Bye-bye. And all of you listening on the World Wide Web, don't forget to tell your friends. We're here every Wednesday from 9:30 to 10. Come join us. Tell your friends about us. It's great information we're trying to provide you. We're dealing this from the nursing home in Gates County and the Down East Nursing Home. So sometimes the connection is not as great, and maybe sometimes it may be a little like a Chinese movie, but I encourage you that the information will still be good even if the connection is not the greatest. So still join us. Tell your friends about us. On that note, be blessed and have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.